Your Excellency, Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, other principal officers of the university, emeritus professors here present, all professors, deans, head of departments, faculty, staff, Royal Highnesses, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 20th inaugural lecture of the university. At this point, I'd like to invite the President and Vice Chancellor to give his welcome remark and the citation of the inaugural lecturer. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir.
The Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Deputy Vice Chancellor Management Services, other principal officers that are here, our inaugural lecturer of today, provost, deans, associate officers that are here, erudite scholars, immediate family members, members of the professional bodies that our inaugural lecturer of today subscribed to, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I want to warmly welcome you to the 28th inaugural lecture of Babcock University. Inaugural lecture is an academic tradition which every university that was a salt globally subscribed to. And since Babcock University wants to be reckoned with as a university that was a salt, we have tried as much as possible to continue with this tradition. Hence, the 20th inaugural lecture of today. Without much ado, I want to invite the inaugural lecturer of today to respectfully stand and remain standing for the citation. John Cletus IHONGBE was born to the royal family of Chief and Mrs. D.A. IHONGBE about 68 years ago in Ekoma, Edo State. He attended the Annunciation Catholic College, Irua, in Edo State from 1960 to 1964. In 1966, John Cletus IHONGBE proceeded to the Federal School of Science, Onikan, Lagos, for his advanced level program. Thereafter, John Cletus IHONGBE left the shores of Nigeria for the United Kingdom in 1969 to study medical laboratory science. It's interesting to know that our inaugural lecturer of today distinguished himself as a student of excellence. And therefore, he appeared in the London Independent Television as the best student in bacteriology at Paddington College, London. Thereafter, he bagged the Fellowship of Institute of Biomedical Sciences in 1974. Because of his love for his fatherland, he returned back to Nigeria and secured an appointment with the University of Benin in 1978. While serving there, he rose through the ranks to become the head of the research laboratory for the Department Institute of Child Health, University of Benin, a position he held as the chief medical laboratory scientist from 1978 to 1995. Because of his thirst for knowledge, he proceeded for his doctoral studies at the University of Benin, and he bagged the Ph.D. in medical microbiology, immunology, and immunochemistry from the University of Benin in 1997. In 2000, He was appointed as the senior lecturer in the Faculty of Pathological Sciences, Ambrose Ali, University of Poma, Edo State. And in 2003, he was appointed as the head of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, Ambrose Ali, University of Poma. This position he held until 2010, and he was nicknamed HOD Emeritus of Ambrose Ali University. While at Ambrose Ali University in Poma, he graduated the first and second sets of Bachelor of Medical Laboratory Science students. In 2006, the National Universities Commission appointed him to coordinate the Medical Laboratory Science program in 8 institutions spread across the country. As Providence we have it, in 2008, he visited Babcock University as a member of a 2-man panel for resource verification visit for our medical laboratory science, and eventually we secured the approval from the National Universities Commission. There and there, the love for Babcock University sprung up in his heart. And in the past 10 years, Professor John IHONGBE has been a member of the NUC accreditation team. He has served as team leader in accreditation panel for the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria. In 2012, John Cletus IHONGBE assumed duty as an associate professor at Babcock University and as the head of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science. While serving as the head of the department, I'm glad to report to this audience this afternoon that our inaugural lecturer of today secured NUC full accreditation for the Department of Medical Laboratory Science within 9 months of assumption of duty. He was eventually promoted to the rank of professor in 2015. While serving in Babcock University, he has graduated the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth sets of medical laboratory science students. John Cletus IHONGBE belongs to several professional bodies. Among them are 1. Member of the Institute of Biology, London. Fellow, Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria. Member, Society of General Microbiology, London. Member, Institute of Science Technology, London. And the list goes on and on and on. As a professor at Babcock University, he has served as a member of Senate. He has also served in several hardcore committees, as well as member of the hardcore committee set up by the National Universities Commission. Professor John IHONGBE is the chairman committee of deans and HODs of all Nigerian universities which offer the medical laboratory science degree program. Furthermore, he has served and is still serving as external examiner for the fellowship program in medical laboratory science, as well as external examiner to the University of Ibadan, Otman Danfodio University, Sokoto, Afe Babalola University, Ado-Ekiti, University of Lagos, just to mention a few. He also serves as member editorial board, Journal of Public and Allied Health Sciences, member editorial board, Special Bacterial Pathogens Journal, associate editor for Journal of Cellular Pathology, and on and on and on. Professor John IHONGBE has to his credit over 80 publications in both local and international peer-reviewed journals. He is the national patron of the Red Cross Society. No wonder we have Nigerian Red Cross Society all over this hall today to honor their patron. Professor Johnny Ihongbe is the National Advisor to the Nigerian Medical Laboratory Science Students Association, Chairman, Board of Trustees of Annunciation Catholic Colleges, Iroa, in Edo State, and Chairman, Management Committee of the Center for Training of Community Health Officers, ECOMA, Edo State. He was honored by the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria for outstanding contributions to education and development of medical laboratory science in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, our inaugural lecturer of today is a philanthropist and a gentleman to the core. Servant leadership, which is the fourth core value of Babcock University, is its motivating factor. In conclusion, our inaugural lecturer of today is married and is blessed with 4 wonderful children, grown up, 2 boys and 2 girls. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome to the podium Professor John Cletus Ihongbe as he delivers the inaugural lecture titled Microbes and Man, Misinterpretation of Boundaries. Thank you, and God bless.
The President, Vice Chancellor, sir, Senior President, Academy, Senior Vice President, Management Services, other Vice Presidents and Associate Professors here present, Provost of College here present, Provost of Colleges here present, Dean School of Public and Allied Health, all other Deans of schools here present, all members of Senate, all heads of department, faculty and staff, School of Public and Allied Health, all other faculty and staff of Babcock University, my lords, spiritual and temporal, my family members, nuclear and extended, my special guests, all students of School of Public and Allied Health, all other Babcock University's students here present, members of the Red Cross, ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguished gentle ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, it is with immense gratitude to the Almighty God that I stand here before this august occasion to present the 20th inaugural lecture of God's Own University, Babcock University, Ileshan Remo, Ogun State. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, it is indeed a privilege. This is the 3rd inaugural lecture to be given by a faculty member of the School of Public and Allied Health, and the first in the Department of Medical Laboratory Science. While I was at the secondary school, I envied some young men who rode on beautiful motorcycles and worked as supervisors in the agricultural settlements close to my school. I wanted to be like them. However, I found myself in the United Kingdom reading medical laboratory science. Medical laboratory science entails the study of human and animal body fluids, tissues, and extrusion. Medical laboratory scientists have been accredited to produce vaccines, biologicals, and diagnostic reagents. The profession is also concerned with the fabrication of equipment to facilitate laboratory diagnosis. Medical laboratory science is actively involved in biomedical research, which enhances clinical diagnosis and the treatment of patients. The research component also evaluates and updates existing technologies and the development of new laboratory methodologies. The medical laboratory practice started in the early 20th century, and the practitioners were referred to as laboratory assistants. In 1912, the Pathological Bacteriological Laboratory Assistants Association, PBLAA, was inaugurated. The practice started almost simultaneously in the United Kingdom and the United States of America. A few Nigerians, including Dr. Raphael Akinleye Olajide Shonekon, MON, had to travel to the United Kingdom for his training. The medical laboratory science profession started in Nigeria in the 1920s under the tutelage of British teachers and supervisors. The profession has metamorphosed into a 5-year degree program, and it is run in at least 24 universities in Nigeria. The 6th year of the training is done after the Bachelor of Medical Laboratory Science degree is obtained under the supervision of the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria. The successful graduates are thereafter registered with the professional body and are mobilized for the National University Service Program. A medical laboratory science graduate is called a medical laboratory scientist. The medical laboratory scientist must therefore be registered with the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria and should always obtain a yearly practicing license. The medical laboratory scientists have a wide range of opportunities for employment. They can be employed in research science as research scientists in the research institutes. Also, they work and manage the pathology services and diagnostic laboratories in hospitals. These comprise of medical microbiology, histopathology, hematology and blood group serology, chemical pathology, parasitology, immunology, mycology, and virology laboratories. They also serve as lecturers, core lecturers, and researchers in university departments, which run the Bachelor of Medical Laboratory Science program. It is the duty of the medical laboratory scientist to manage and is the duty of the medical laboratory scientist to ensure quality control of consumables and edible items like food, water, and drugs. The majority of NAFDAC staff and medical laboratory scientists, they are among the manage the custom and excise laboratories for quality assurance of imported medical items. The medical laboratory scientists can also establish and manage a private medical laboratory diagnostic outfit. The prospects are good. With a minimum of a master's degree, Master of Science degree, and professional registration and the required number of research publications, the entry point of a university lecturer is Lecturer 2. Medical laboratory scientists are actively involved in prospective and experimental researches. In the spirit of the International Code of Medical Ethics, as enshrined in Venice in 1981 and 83, only persons, medical laboratory scientists, who have personally carried out tests of verified same may qualify to certify or countersign test results. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, in the past 30 years, I've worked with and studied microbes as a registered medical laboratory scientist. I shall therefore, in the course of this lecture, narrate what I have done and observed during my interactions teaching researches with microbes, and by extension, my observations in the relationship between microbes and man. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, in my quest to coin a title for this lecture, I praised man and microbes, and microbes and man. I contemplated on whether I should read man and microbes or microbes and man. Finally, I found the answer in the Bible, and I settled for microbes and man. This was how I arrived at my conclusion. Microbes and man were created by God on the same day, and this was the 6th day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 25. God created the microbes, creeping things, by his word, while man was made in his own image. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. The creeping things, everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. After God had created all things to include man, he said everything he did was good. It is therefore correct to assume that man was clean and blessed with good and perfect health. Man therefore did not have diseases or infections. man did not fall ill. Microbes, the creeping things, did not interfere with his mental and physical health status. God made man in his own image and gave man dominion over every living thing that moves on the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. The creeping things, the microbes, on land were confined to the earth before man was made. It could be said, therefore, that the creeping things, microbes, received a certificate of occupancy before man was made. Man, therefore, did not have, consequently, and having regard to this revelation, the title had to read Microbes and Man, with the realization that God gave man the authority over the earth. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, the man Adam, disobeyed God by eating the forbidden fruit. God cursed the ground. He decreed and declared, "Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life, till you return to the ground, for out of the ground you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return." Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, it is therefore obvious that man and microbes have interacted since creation. In my presentation this afternoon, I shall highlight my understanding of microbes in my endeavor as a teacher and a scientist spanning a period of 10 years with regard to the relationship between microbes, microorganisms, and the human being, vis-a-vis the actions and inactions that have impacted the natural symbiosis. The area that fascinated me is the outcome of the interactions between microbes and man. If man had been given dominion over the creeping things, then man must interact with these creeping things in a godly manner. If microbes have been confined to the earth, it is all over the world. In 1347, plague of black earth devastated Europe, wiping out 5% of the European population. The disease we now know was caused by a microbe, which is a gram-negative bacterium, Yersinia pestis. Tuberculosis has been present before recorded history and has killed many people than other microbial pathogens. Gruesome infections caused by Staphylococcus, Clostridia, Streptococcus, and viruses were the order of the day. This was how microbes were discovered. In the early century, man did not have the knowledge of technology to appreciate the existence of microbes called little animals. There are millions and millions of them. Some are yet to be discovered. Most of these microbes are harmless to man, and indeed benefit a great deal from the relationship with microbes. Microorganisms are indispensable components of our ecosystem. Microbes are constantly and actively involved in bioremediation. Without microbes, dead animals and plants would not decay. Microbes are used to clean up oil spillage, oil contaminated soil and water. This method has been adopted in the Golden Land in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. Man has used microbes for food, and microbes can use man for food as well. In 1676, Anthony van Leeuwen, using a crude microscope, described the bacteria and protozoa he saw as animal. Louis Pasteur disproved the theory of spontaneous generation, while in 1876, Robert Koch demonstrated that bacillus and classicus anthrax. In 1884, Koch again suggested and demonstrated that Mycobacterium tuberculosis, a rock-shaped caused tuberculosis. To re-emphasize the assertion in Genesis chapter 1, verse 25, Steve J. Gould stated that microorganisms were first on the planet. Willie also stated that microbes colonized the Earth 3.5 billion years ago, while the hominids appeared over 7 million years ago. Microbes live virtually everywhere life is possible. They are more in number than any other kind of organism and probably constitute the largest component of the Earth's biomass. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, there are more animals living in the scum of the teeth of man than there are made in the whole kingdom. Microbes and man. Microbes and man coexist on the Earth's surface, and consequently there must be interaction between man and microbes. The human microbiota is essentially driven by our diet. Microbes are not only concerned about causing infections, they can be very useful to man. The gluconin and the acetate produced as end products of fermentation by colonic bifidobacteria can modulate immunity. The outcome of the interaction between microbes and man may be favorable or unfavorable to either of the partners. There are different categories of this interaction. Under normal circumstances, the normal flora of the human body is not expected to be harmful to man. However, depending on the prevailing circumstances and in the relationship, when the compromised immune condition, microorganisms go beyond their boundaries, and the outcome of the relationship could be unpleasant for both the human and there are microbes which are always harmful or pathogenic to man. The relationship to interaction between microbes and man could be classified as follows: mutualism, commensalism, symbiotic relationship, parasitism, pathogenic organisms, be it fungi, virus, and bacteria, when associated with man, must cause disease. These terms are and definitions are continually in process in man. The outcome are driven by several factors to include actions and reactions to our man. The normal flora of the human body, that is bacteria and body in and out of the human, all associated with many activities on and inside the human body. Firstly, the odor of your body is essentially determined by the normal flora. Within the body, the normal flora protects the body against infection and pathogenic organisms. They even produce antibodies, though in low concentration, which will directly or indirectly enhance the immune system of the being. When was it that we got in contact with microbes? Under normal circumstances, the human fetus bathed in a sterile environment in the uterus. The first contact with microbes during passage through the birth canal. Within minutes after the birth, the baby begins to acquire a vast array of microbes. The majority of these microbes are harmless and are indeed most beneficial to man, and they live within man in a symbiotic relationship. Some microbes have adopted the strategy to invade the fetus, especially when the pregnant woman has compromised her status due to the breed barrier and infect the baby. This condition may also be accentuated by factors which include pre-eclampsia, diabetes, and the nutritional status of the woman, and consequently enhance the movement of the microbes into the uterus. The adult human body is covered with approximately 2 square meters of skin. It has been estimated that the human skin is home to 1 trillion microbes. Microbes are found everywhere on the surface of the earth. A world without the microbes will spell doom for man. Microbes are responsible for decay of waste generated by man. In the course of doing this, microbes, nutrients, minerals are recycled for use by plants, and consequently, their activities sustain the food chain and man benefits and survives. Man has exploited microbes for food. The lactic acid bacteria have been used to sustain good health. Many hundreds of years ago, man used lactobacillus, leuconostoc, and pedicellus and bifidobacteria to produce food. Microbes have also been used for the manufacture of numerous fermented foods. Man has also used microbes in the industries to produce cheese, milk, beer, and yogurt. Man has used microbes as biodegradation agents. Man has even used microbes as agents of mass destruction. Infectious diseases constitute a large burden of ill health in humans. The result of this is responsible for morbidity and mortality worldwide. Enteric microbes such as Salmonella species, Shigella species, Cletus species, Escherichia coli, Pseudomonas species, Staphylococcus aureus, Lepidopteran, and rotavirus constitute the majority of etiologic agents of enteric infections. WHO in 2004 reported that there were more than 4 billion episodes of diarrheal diseases annually, and that about 2.2 million people died each year because of enteric infection. In an attempt to modulate this occurrence, man has exploited lactobacillus as probiotic microbes, which can exhibit beneficial effects and therefore enhance the status of well-being of man. There are many species of lactobacillus, and up to 20 have been sequenced. The probiotic lactic acid bacteria, which include lactobacillus, bifidobacteria, and staphylococcus, exhibit beneficial effects on the health of the human being by enhancing the intestinal microbiome balance. The rising incidence of antibiotic-resistant pathogens has also informed the popularity and therapeutic use of probiotics as alternative to antibiotics. The emerging idea of personalized medicine re-emphasizes the need for more scientific research in the application and adoption of probiotics in human care delivery. The uncompromising attitude of microbacterial tuberculosis. The disease tuberculosis is thought to have existed before record death history. About 1/3 of the whole world population is infected with microbacterial tuberculosis and is at risk of active tuberculosis, while a staggering 2 million people die each year. Tuberculosis accounts for 25% of the global burden of disease, and it is the most common cause of death in young women, killing more women than all cases of maternal mortality combined. My special area interest is tuberculosis. The disease caused by a microbe known as microbacterial tuberculosis. I was introduced into this option by Dr. Nasser while I was studying for my fellowship in the Institute of Biological Sciences in the United Kingdom. Dr. Nasser emigrated to England from Europe, from Egypt during the World War, and he worked for the World Health Organization at every possible country. Tuberculosis currently holds the 7th position of global ranking and causes of death. Anti-tuberculosis drugs to treat and cure the disease have been available for more than 50 years. Yet, every second, someone in the world dies from the brutality of tuberculosis. A person is newly infected with microbacterial tuberculosis every 1 second of every day. About 75% of people with tuberculosis are within the economically productive age of 15 to 54 years. 95% of all cases and 99% of death occur in the developing countries, with the greatest burden in Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. The origin of the microbacterium tuberculosis has been a subject of much investigation. And it is thought that the bacterium microbacterium, like other actinomyces, was initially found in the soil, and that same species evolved to live in animals. The domestication of animals, which was said to have occurred over 25,000 years ago, would have allowed the passage of the tubercle bacilli from the life of the human, and the adaptation to the new host would have made the bacilli to evolve to microbacterium tuberculosis, which causes tuberculosis in man. Tuberculosis existed in America before the arrival of Columbus, but was rare in the native people. There was no evidence of tuberculosis in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia, or the Pacific, until after contact was initiated with the Europeans during the period of colonization. The disease tuberculosis is one of the most important and deadly scourges affecting mankind, with pathogenesis including tissue damage because of exorbitant hypersensitivity to the microbe. The disease may be insidious and may infect persons who may not be aware that they have contracted microbacterial tuberculosis. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, Africa now carries the highest burden of tuberculosis. Africa is poor. Africa is ignorant and corrupt. And the microbacterial tuberculosis have taken advantage of this bad situation. Tuberculosis is any of the infectious disease of humans and other animals due to species of microbacteria. A cough or sneeze or talking by an infected host can release particles which may contain the bacilli. The droplet nuclei can remain in the air for a long period of time and facilitate inhalation by another person. The air in and closure can retain the droplet nuclei even after the infected person has left the room. The droplet nuclei get lodged in the alveoli, and the bacilli are able to multiply within the macrophages. It has been widely held that the macrophage activation and granuloma formation are the only mechanisms by which tuberculosis infections are combated. Paradoxically, the macrophages are often overwhelmed by the capacity of the bacilli to multiply within the macrophages, and the bacilli establish infection. Leprosy, also known as Hansen's disease, is caused by Mycobacterium leprae. Microbe is closely related to Mycobacterium tuberculosis. In 2012, Nigeria recorded 3,805 new cases of leprosy. This figure is higher than the number of new cases recorded in Bangladesh, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Nepal. Nigeria is one of the countries which are responsible for about 80% of cases in the world. Leprosy may be present in two forms: lepromatous bad and tuberculous bad. The infectious disease is curable. Figure 3 will show you the brutality of leprosy. The incidence of tuberculosis per 100,000 globally is 178, while in Africa it is 332. The action and inactions of man have enhanced the spread of antimicrobial resistance of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Coughing and spitting in public places have aided the spread of tuberculosis. Human immunodeficiency virus and tuberculosis have formed a lethal combination, each speeding the other's progress. The non-compliance and poor adherence to treatment by patients coupled with inappropriate treatment have compounded tuberculosis in Nigeria. These actions of man have encouraged the development of micro-resistant tuberculosis, poly-resistant tuberculosis, multi-resistant tuberculosis, and extensively drug-resistant tuberculosis. Viruses and man. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, there appears to be a paradigm shift in the disease-causing agents. Viruses have in the recent times caused devastating calamities in Africa, especially in West Africa. There are more than 400 different viruses which can infect man, but only a small dose of the pathogenic viral agent is required to establish a known disease. The source of the human immunodeficiency virus has been traced to wild animals, non-human primates in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The HIV-1, which is more virulent, is very prevalent in West Africa and Central Africa. Man has directly or indirectly introduced simian avian virus to cell. The virus has transformed into HIV in man. Several schools of thought have been advanced to elucidate the route which has facilitated the transfer from non-human primates to man. The hunters in Congo might have contaminated themselves with the blood of gorillas. It was also suggested that man may have contracted the deadly virus through vasculitis. However, it is now very obvious that man has gone beyond his bounds. Human immunodeficiency virus infection is spreading rapidly in most resource-poor countries, to include Nigeria. This infection, most often than not, progresses to acquire immunodeficiency AIDS. The HIV infection has spread beyond its initial epidemiological and geographic boundaries. It has become a worldwide epidemic of mammoth proportion. That is to say, HIV infection is now a pandemic disease. Nigeria has the second largest number of people living with HIV. Worldwide, 35.5 million people live with HIV, while 47% of these people living with HIV are women. AIDS-related death is put at 1.6 million per annum. New HIV infection per day is about 6,300. New HIV infection among children is estimated to be 260,000. Low and middle income countries account for 99% of HIV infections. There is a table there, table 4, where you can see the prevalence in all the states. Rivers State has the highest, 15.2. That's the prevalence of HIV. Edo State has 0.8. Ogun State, where we are, 0.6. And Ekiti has 0.2. Well done, Parish. Man appears to be helpless, while the microbes have demonstrated tenacity, virulence, and potency. There are no vaccines, drugs, or antibiotics which can easily be used in the management of these infections. Only prophylactic or supportive treatment is available. The situation has been further compounded in recent years by the fact that new diseases of unknown etiology have been linked to viruses. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, I would like to mention a few without diving into the type of diseases. A few of these viruses include Ebola, Lassa, Marburg, Zika virus, smallpox, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis D, and the rotavirus. The map that follows will show you the area. We all remember Tom Sawyer, who came from Liberia to contaminate Nigerians. We had 20 cases of Ebola, 4 incidents resulted in death. The little animals you are seeing there, the rats, they're multi-mammate rats. They're called multi-mammate because they have many breasts. They have up to 22 breasts each. And so when they litter, you can imagine the number. This Mastomys naturalis is host of Lassa fever virus. They contaminate our food and our drinks and our home, especially during food burning period, and Lassa fever can kill. There is a figure that figure 10 which shows you the hemorrhagic disease. And then, of course, Zika virus is transmitted to man by mosquito. When it gets into pregnant woman, you can see figure 12, what it does to the fetus. Microcephalic severity. Mr. President, in one of my researches, titled Pneumococcal Pneumonia Complicates Presentation of Pulmonary Tuberculosis and Pseudomembranous Candidiasis Predictive of Unknown HIV Infection Glaucoma, we highlighted the pneumococcal pneumonia complicated the clinical presentation of pulmonary tuberculosis and showed the productive value of pseudomembranous candidiasis in the detection of known HIV disease. Understanding this fact, a major disease like pneumonia complicated TB presentation by acting as an underlying disease, easily missed in routine diagnosis. And this can be aided by the use of certain oral lesions as predictors of unknown HIV disease. This is promising and has positive prognostic values. Superbugs. In 2002, Staphylococcus aureus, a microbe which most of us carry in our skin and our bodies as a member of the normal flora of man, acquired a different outlook. Hitherto, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus had been the cause of concern in microbial infections and antimicrobial resistance. The microbes were reported a while ago to have acquired a gene which confers resistance to vancomycin. The strain was isolated from ulcers of diabetic patients. Vancomycin has always been reserved for the management of Staph aureus because it had proved very useful in the identification of infection. Furthermore, the vancomycin-resistant Staph aureus was also discovered to have developed resistance to penicillin, methicillin, and ciprofloxacin. At this time, the vancomycin-sensitive Staph aureus was shown to have acquired the resistant gene VAN-A from an enterococcus which was resistant to vancomycin. This occurrence has set back the hand of the law in medicine. The transfer of the VAN-A resistant gene was thought to have been facilitated through bacterial communication. Flesh-eating microbes. There may be gory pictures on the screen, but this is the correct situation. The activities of man have assisted and encouraged microbes to go beyond their boundaries. The lifestyle of man has incurred the ever-growing population of diabetic patients, cancer, ulcer patients, liver and kidney disease patients. The microbes have annexed man's negligence, and this has resulted in necrotizing ascites. This disease also refers to as coronary gangrene. When it occurs in the genitals, it's capable of destroying the skin, which is apparently healthy. These bacteria have also been implicated in open wounds, sore throats, and quite common in immunosuppressed. Antibiotics may be administered to control the infection, but most often the result is amputation of the limbs. Cancer and man. Microbes can also initiate cancer. Mr. President, I wish to state a few of the cancers initiated by microbes, and these go further to emphasize the extent to which microbes have transgressed in the exploit and annihilation of man. Fusobacterium nucleata in normal flora, human oral cavity, and colon has been reported by UPIN to potentiate colorectal carcinoma. This condition, which hitherto was very rare, is now frequently diagnosed in humans. Helicobacter pylori, when established in the human gut, can cause gastric ulcer. The incidence of this type of cancer is increasing worldwide. IHONGBE et al. Also reported the role of Helicobacter pylori in peptic ulcer and thrombocytopenia. The human papillomavirus has always been proved to be associated with cervical cancer and it can cause lesions, squamous cell carcinoma, and other sites. The human papillomavirus also has been incremented in the skin cancer of epidermolysis bullosa, papilloma and skin, larynx, and genital of man. Man is a symptomless carrier of human papillomavirus and transferred to women through sexual intercourse. Man has encouraged cancer by unhealthy lifestyle. Man smokes, eats junk, drinks alcohol, refuses to eat vegetables and fruits. With due respect to our women, our modern mothers have failed, neglected, or refused to breastfeed their babies. Man has also failed to work for God. Man and antimicrobial resistance, Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, because God has given man dominion over three things, it is believed that man shall overcome the problems of infection and diseases initiated by microbes. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 reads, and I quote, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yields seed. To you it shall be meat." Also in Revelation chapter 22, verse 2, in the midst of the tree of it all, and on the other side, on either side of the river, was there a tree of life, which bare 12 manners of fruit, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves were for the healing of nations. The Indians in Peru in the 19th century used pepper roots to treat dysentery and diarrhea. Also, Siguhana bark was used for the treatment of malaria. Florey and Kane in 1940 were able to produce semi-pure penicillin from the mold Penicillium nonatum. Although Alexander Fleming had in 1958 observed the antimicrobial effects of Penicillium nonatum. Many other antimicrobial agents are now produced from molds and plants, while some can be synthesized in the laboratory. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, it was thought that the discovery of antibiotics would bring to an end the occurrence of infections in man. This has not come to be. Rather, microbes have developed an array of mechanisms by which they become resistant to antibiotics. The pre-antibiotic era was filled with confusion and organized brainstorming in an effort to provide solutions to infections, proliferation, and colonization of sensitive surfaces by microbes. Man has synergized all sorts of antimicrobial agents to keep microorganisms in check. While on the other hand, microbes have metamorphosed through drug-resistant, multiple drug-resistant, excessively resistant, and now totally resistant microbial superbugs just to remain relevant. The emergence of superbugs in microbes, which resist all known antibacterial agents, may be the greatest current existing diabetes true threat to man. Drug resistance in microbes is not new. But what is new is the method adopted by microbes to destroy or escape the action of antibiotics. Acquired resistance occurs when there is a change in the genome of microbes. Microbes can now transfer plasmids, which confer resistance to other microbes, which hitherto were sensitive to very vital antibiotics used in the treatment of life-threatening diseases and infections. Furthermore, the discovery that bacterial cells can acquire additional genetic materials by the processes of transformation, conjugation, and transduction have endowed the microbe to become resistant to numerous antimicrobial agents. The beta-lactamase producing microbes. Antibiotics are designed and produced for the management of and eradication of bacterial infections. More recently, the production of extended spectrum beta-lactamase, ESBL, has further aggravated the bad situation with regard to antibiotic resistance. The ESBL is capable of destroying the third generation of proteins. This is a great help for the ESBL-producing bacteria are now very frequently isolated from clinical samples. The microbes have devised the means using horizontal gene transfer, that's conjugated plasmid, to spread the beta-lactamase, which confer antimicrobial resistance to microbes, which are not genetically related. The acquisition of chromosomal and plasmid-related resistance in microbes has been in low frequency. The prescribing habits of clinicians have also been incriminated in encouraging antimicrobial resistance. Newer may not necessarily be the best. Sales representatives of drug companies often persuade the younger medical doctors to prescribe the latest and very expensive antibiotics to patients. This is done at the expense of more effective and cheaper antibiotics. The non-compliance to antibiotic regimen has contributed a great deal in enhancing antimicrobial resistance. It is to be emphasized that the use of locally made precautions and experts, the pharmacological active ingredients are not known or certified by NICTA, may contribute to the problem of antibiotic resistance. These compounds may also serve as sources for microbes such as Pseudomonas and Klebsiella species, able to serve as source of sub-lethal disease of antimicrobial agents. In one of our works, we observed that high levels of minimal bactericidal concentrations are required of plant extracts to be effective. Such high levels will never be attained in human body. Poverty and illiteracy in poor resource countries are factors which also can contribute to the development of resistance to antibiotics by microbes. The totality of these factors may constitute a selective pressure favoring the emergence of super germs, which are resistant to many antimicrobial agents. The importance of antibiotic policy in hospitals cannot be overemphasized. IHONGBE et al. In their work, Non-Target Oral Bacterial Resistance to Cotrimoxazole in HIV patients revealed another aspect favoring bacterial resistance to antimicrobials. In this work, we stated the consequences of the misuse of antibiotics. We observed that the administration or consumption of antibiotics in form of prophylaxis does not limit the effect to the infected pathogens or opportunist pathogens alone. The other bacteria present in the targeted environment, even though they constitute the normal flora, are also affected. The oral bacterium, such as Paramella capreis, a beta-lactamase producing gram-negative Diplococcus, uniformly resistant to vancomycin and clindamycin, but susceptible to rifampicin and erythromycin, and Streptococcus which have developed resistance to cotrimoxazole. Cotrimoxazole prophylaxis is usually given to HIV/AIDS patients with acute necrotizing ulcerative enteritis, Kaposi sarcoma, linear gingival erythematous banding, and angular cheilitis. One of our publications showed that there is a subtle development of resistance in the bacterial population with the attendant transfer of resistant genes and the encouragement of gradual build-up of antimicrobial resistance in microbes within the patient. This phenomenon is mightily worrisome, especially when antibiotics are combined in immunosuppressed patients such as HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis. My contribution to knowledge by research, Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, the average American of Britain or Dutch is not more intelligent than the average Nigerian. The Imafidon family from Edo State, but resident in the United Kingdom, has attested to that. The question now is, why is Nigeria not inventing what the world needs in the 21st century? Critical thinking is what we need to have a technological breakthrough. Quite often I ask myself, who transferred technology to the Americans? Who transferred technology to the British? And who transferred technology to the Japanese? my inner mind tells me technology is not just. We need to improvise and develop our autonomous technology. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir. In the academia, what the academia needs is where we talk facility, creativity, and innovation through research. Encouragement and job satisfaction are also vital in our quest for this objective. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, sir, I shall quickly recount my contribution to knowledge in medical laboratory science. I have replicated my Ph.D. 4 times and have co-supervised 8 others. I have successfully supervised 27 M.Sc graduates and several undergraduates. One of the Ph.D.s that I supervised was the yeasts in the oral cavity of HIV patients. The work was adjudged by the National University Commission as one of the best PhD researchers in Nigeria. And the work was consequently accepted in 2010 for the NUC Higher Education Book Development Project. Some years ago, precisely in 1981, while I was doing some work in the sickle cell disease, I discovered that celluloplasmin was deficient in babies presenting with early brain disease. This finding became a vital routine investigation in the management of babies who presented with respiratory distress syndrome. For some years later, when I visited the university, where I made the discovery, I was informed that the routine investigation for celluloplasmin was terminated because there was no fund for the purchase of the reagent. Sadly, this is the fate of most researchers in Nigeria. The figure there shows you the dumped university student project. No research that is properly fashioned and designed is useless. In the course of my interaction with some of the faculty and science in the sciences, I observed that BABCOCK University has young lecturers who are aggressive and hungry for research. Their handicap is the non-availability of the state-of-the-art central laboratory at BABCOCK University. Further delay in this regard certainly will not be religious for our esteemed people. Oswald stated that the universities, the polytechnics, and other institutions of higher learning do offer courses in research methodology. The knowledge is seldom applied. This is also the erroneous belief by government and some industrialists that professors in universities more often than not conduct researches which are too academic, and therefore the findings, result works, and progress have little or no practical application. Another fundamental factor militating against progress in medical science is that the key players in the health sector are not united. Each group wanting to dominate the scene and expect the other group to be the inferior company. This is wrong approach. All the groups should work together for the good of the patient. The Ministry of Health has failed in this responsibility to mediate and ensure that there is harmony among the health workers. Indeed, the Ministry of Health has adopted the position of saying yes to the loudest and noisiest agitator. This must stop. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, I wish to mention some of the findings in my research team. Some of this work was done outside the previous. Number one, IHONGBE and Sabotage hydroxybutyrate dehydrogenase and diagnosis of patients' crisis in sickle cell disease. We observed that the crisis was not really due to the anemia was not due to the hemolytic, chronic hemolysis, but to infections. Therefore, alpha-hydroxybutyrate dehydrogenase is doubtful value in diagnosis of vaso-occlusive crisis in patients with sickle cell anemia. I'll go to number 3, the decreased level of serum celluloplasmin concentration in infants with early brain disease. I said something about this earlier on. Number 5, Abiodun and IHONGBE, asymptomatic rotavirus infection in Nigeria daycare centers. We observed that most of our daycare centers most of the babies in our daycare centers had rotavirus as part of the program, and that was responsible for the majority of diarrhea experienced in daycare schools. I go to the last one, number 13, and this for me of liturgy, where we investigated thrombocytopenia in the presence of Dr. Palora, and concluded that the study that not all cases of peptic ulcer are associated with thrombocytopenia. However, thrombocytopenia in peptic ulcer patients could indicate Helicobacter pylori infection. My contribution to medical laboratory science program is different. As the Vice Chancellor has said, I served as the head of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science for about 10 years in M.Sc. University. In 2007, I had the singular honor to be trained graduates in the Medical Laboratory Science program who had their training outside the four walls of the university. As he said, I am the current chairman of the Committee of Deans and Heads of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science program in all the Nigerian universities. I serve as external examiner to many universities, including Lagos, the University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, and Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. I'm also an associate editor of the Journal of Cell Pathology. My contribution to BABCOCK University. This may sound as a surprise. So it was to me until I saw a document in the file in the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, BABCOCK University, Bishop Remo. In 2008, I visited BABCOCK University as a member of a two-man panel for resource verification for the Medical Laboratory Science program, and approval was recommended. Interestingly, I became an employee of BABCOCK University March 1st, 2012. God sent me back to continue with the work I had started. To God be the glory. I have served as the head of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science since I assumed duty at BABCOCK University, March 1st, 2012. Today is therefore my anniversary. It is the beginning of the 7th year. To God be the glory. The Medical Laboratory Science Department has full accreditation to the professional regulatory body. I have also secured the NEC accreditation for the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, the first attempt. And as the DC said, within 9 months of my assumption of duty, that record is yet to be broken. Recommendation: microbes and man shall continue to interact. Diseases and infections shall continue to afflict man. The poor, the rich nations shall continue to coexist with microbes. The poor nations carry the highest burden of diseases and infections caused by microbes. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, it is not the interest of the microbe to kill man. If it happens, the microbes sooner or later, they too will run out of food, and consequently, they will become extinct. Against this background, the microbes have devised several ways and means to escape the host after they have successfully infected us and made us sick. They escape by initiating cough, sneezing, vomiting, stooling. It has therefore become necessary, sir, to take pragmatic steps to protect man against the formidable assault by microbes. I make bold to recommend as follows: the management of tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS costs, the budgetary allocation by government must increase. Directly observe DOT for the treatment of tuberculosis is highly recommended. There must be political will by Nigerian government to ameliorate the sufferings of the masses living with HIV in Nigeria. HIV drugs must be given free of charge to all patients that need them. The federal government of Nigeria should, as a matter of priority, establish reference laboratories which should be involved in special pathogens identification, research and production of vaccines against required for the prevention and control of viral infections. Antibiotic policy is the way out. This can be achieved by an algorithm which dictates that antibiotics must be used in a systematic and orderly manner in order to minimize the indiscriminate use of antibiotics. The treatment of an infection must be dictated by a correct laboratory antibiotic sensitivity test. The policy must embrace laboratory evidence-based sensitivity test results. The algorithm requires that antibiotics are put in order, such as first line, second line, and third line. Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, I wish to recommend that policy to all hospitals in Nigeria. It is important to emphasize that one of the consequences of antimicrobial resistance is that the cost of health care becomes unaffordable to the poor masses of this nation. A healthy nation is a wealthy nation. The Department of Medical Laboratory Science, BABCOCK University, is presently domiciled in the School of Public and Allied Health. At the end of the 5th year of training, the students graduate with Bachelor of Medical Laboratory Science in one of 4 options, Medical Laboratory Science. These are BMLS Medical Microbiology and Parasitology, BMLS Hematology and Blood Serology, BMLS Chemical Pathology, and BMLS Histology. The Medical Laboratory Science program in BABCOCK University is always oversubscribed, and I therefore ask BABCOCK University management to consider the elevation of the Department of Medical Laboratory Science to the status of School of Medical Laboratory Science. With each of the 4 units being a separate department. Conclusion. It is sad to note Nigeria nationwide does not have up to 10 laboratories for the cultivation and identification of microbiome tuberculosis. Culture techniques is the gold standard for the isolation and identification of microbiome tuberculosis. A country with HIV must recognize that tuberculosis and HIV have formed a lethal arsenal against man. Proper diagnosis is essential. Acknowledgement. President Chancellor, permit me to mention a few things that are really important. Firstly, I want to thank God for giving me, sustaining my life up to this moment. God in His infinite mercy has given me the opportunity to deliver this 20th inaugural lecture before this great audience. May the name of the living Father be glorified. Today I remember my dad and mom. They are both late. I want to humbly and sincerely thank President and the President and Vice Chancellor, Professor Demola, for his uprightness, dedication to duty, and gentlemanly approach in the management of the affairs of this great citadel of learning. I admire your humility, sir. I thank your beautiful and ever smiling wife. I hope you smile at you. I thank the Senior Vice President, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, for this great institution, Professor who has always been there for me. He has been nice to me. On our first meeting, when I assumed duty at BABCOCK University, he warmly received me to the office, and after a short conversation, he politely said, "You are also to serve as the head of the department." I thought he would call me back and say there will be additional. You know what I mean? Thank you, sir, and God bless you. I love to hear you say in Senate, usually after a program, you see, which is succeeded by a pleasant smile. I thank your wife, Professor Clara. When you assume duty in a new tertiary institution and also function as the head of the department, you need all the support in the whole world. Professor Dora Akimboye did that for me. She always says, God sent you here, and she always plays with me. I want to thank you, my beautiful sister. May God bless you and your family. Amen. There is a lady in this university. I call her the engine of BABCOCK University. She is Professor C.C. Wosu. I stand to be corrected. Professor C.C. Wosu, this university will be like, without her, the university will be like a church without an angel. My sincere and warm gratitude to my dean, Professor Penwell Atulom. He's an ever jolly, good fellow man. I thank all my colleagues in my department, My gratitude to Professor Oakile, Professor G. Akilo, and O.A.T. Ali. Pastor Jiwali, your fire in our induction ceremony can never be equal. I admire you, and may God continue to bless you and your family. I appreciate the Dean, School of Nursing Science, Professor B. Adao, and his Deputy Professor, I know. I also appreciate my sister-in-law, Dr. Mrs. Q, and all the faculty of Nursing Science. I thank Professor Ani, Professor Walker, the indefatigable teacher and researcher. I thank Professor B. Mandon, Dr. James Silverson, Dr. John Maralu, and Mrs. Kevin Ladipo for the training given to my students when they participated in the Rotary course. Thank the faculty and staff of the Department of Pharmacology, Physiology, and Anatomy and Biochemistry for teaching my students. I appreciate medical operating scientists at the State Hospital and OOUT for training my students. I thank my colleagues in the Federal Medical Center, I sincerely appreciate the faculty and staff of School of Education and Humanities. I thank Professor Philemon Amanze, Gentleman DAP, and Associate Professor Abiodun Bishop for bringing the best out of my daughter. I said, to my esteemed guests who have traveled far from here, I wish to specially thank all of you for honoring my invitation. Thank all my colleagues that came all the way from Ali University. I cannot mention your names now. Finally, Mr. President, Vice Chancellor, I'm blessed with an understanding from some of them are here. I thank Mrs. Zibra Amusi, Mrs. Kogahi London, Aldo and Professor and Mrs. Godwin Ejirame. They have been very supportive. I appreciate my children, Alistair, Obehi, Tony, and Zibra.
Ladies and gentlemen, our inaugural lecture of today deserves more than that. Thank you. Let's be seated. Just as I mentioned a while ago, inaugural lecture is an academic tradition all over the world in university system. And every professor years to give the inaugural lecture is here to sit properly on the chair. And from today onward, Professor John Cletus, IHONGBE can now sit conveniently on the professorial chair. He has done marvelously well. I want to thank God. Personally, I've been impressed by the agility. When I saw 68, I was surprised because I was always thinking maybe we are in the 50s together. So by virtue of the power conferred on me as the Vice Chancellor of this university, I now officially admit Professor John Cletus IHONGBE to the professorial chair as Professor of Medical Microbiology. And I want to say, with all its rights and privileges, congratulations. Well, after admitting him, the next is for us to have the memories of this very, very important occasion. But we will not do that in this hall here, so that we'll be able to close properly, and then we can now exit out, take pictures with the inaugural lecturer of today. But permit me as the chair of this occasion to invite the immediate family, so that we can do that snappily, and then we exit to have all other pictures outside. So the immediate family, please, the beautiful daughters, one of our alumni, please come forward. Let's take a picture with him, and then after which we will bring the inaugural lecture to a close. After this one, the dean should come forward, the DVC academics, and then I will join, after which all other pictures will be taken outside. Thank you. I think we can just file out there so that we can see the picture all over.
Where's that?